Welcome to the Industry Angel Podcast. We hear from the best business minds across the globe, entrepreneurs, social influencers, marketing mavens, and sales rock stars. We've got them all. Here comes your weekly dose of inspiration with your host, Ian Farah.
Wow. So listen, our Bryn, who is the founder of the House of Ruhr, all about gin. And I've sampled some of Bryn's gin before. It's fantastic. Bryn's an ex-policeman and has so many stories to offer. Let's bring him in. There he is.
I'll just unmute myself. How do I follow that? I'm not an ex-cop. And as I put in the comments, Dennis Nielsen was an ex-cop who went on to mass murder many people. I'm retired.
You're retired?
I left. Yeah.
Well, I'd say, do you want my job? Do you want to sit here, going live, trying to think on the fly? Come on, brother. Give me some slack.
It's fine. I was a bit disappointed that Sarah didn't drink, because I would have gone like that.
Of course.
That.
The reason why we're here. Look at that. You're going straight in for the kill.
Did you see that little handsome chap there? That's great-grandfather, my great-grandfather.
Yeah. So, Bryn, where do we start with your journey? Because, we first met, I think you were on one of my business courses. You were just starting off the business. And I alluded in the preamble to a few challenges that you faced, especially around, alcohol and bringing alcohol into the country, I remember, which was a bit of a challenge for you. So why don't we wind it right back to the start, Bryn? Because as you said, you were a retired police officer. Where did the whole interest in beginning this journey come from?
It was a bit odd. I was involved in a thing called the International Police Association, which is a big friendship organisation for cops around the world. That took me on a fair few travels, but one of them was to Germany, and we would host German cops and cops from around Europe in Northumbria. One of those cops was a guy called Peter Meinken, who I later discovered his family have owned a distillery for a number of years. That distillery was formed in 1749. And he would come to Newcastle and he would often say to me in a bar, he said, "I'd love to see a drink that we've made being served in a bar in Newcastle." And of course, I was a cop. I couldn't have done anything about that at the time. And then post-retirement, rather than being ex, I was over at a party at the distillery and it was mentioned again. So on the flight back, I spoke to my son-in-law, Richie, and we just decided, let's try and make it happen. Just to try and fulfill his dream.
Mm-hmm. No, I was going to say, so you went over to Germany, to the gin distillery and sampled the goods and thought, I'm going to bring this back to the UK?
Yeah. We went back and, we brought quite a lot of samples to the Boost Your Business course, as you may remember, you might not. So we had a number of gins that we thought might be fine. We had some caramel, some rum, which you'll remember. And we just thought, what are we going to do? So we went back to Peter, we mixed about with some of the recipes, and we came up with the three drinks that we have. My paternal family are very much from the mining background. The Ruhr Valley is very much a mining background. It's huge heritage over there. So we decided to brand the drinks about the mines. So Bergman, German for miner. We've got Vogel, which is German for bird, a canary bird. And of course, my great-grandfather, he was a pitman. So a lot of the family worked down the mines, and we just thought, yeah, let's celebrate our mining heritage that we share with the Ruhr Valley.
Forgive my ignorance, but is gin a mining drink?
It's not a mining drink. I'm sure beer was the more favoured drinks, but certainly in Germany it was schnapps, which is how the distillery was formed, is making sort of burnt schnapps.
Yeah. So let's go a little bit back then. So you decided, right, okay, I'm going to bring this drink back. How does that actually happen? Because in your mind you say, well, let's just bring it in, let's just import it, let's just bottle it, label it, brand it, get it out, whatever. Is it as simple as that?
Oh yeah, dead easy. So we thought, well, how are we going to get it in? We need some sort of license. So we contacted HMRC, and we had to go through what the called the Alcohol Wholesalers Registration Scheme, which was quite a few hoops. So we filled in all the forms, we had interviews. Took a long time, to be honest. And I think we did our Postie Business course in April 2018, and we got the AWRS registration in March of 2019. So we got that, then we thought, how are we going to get it back? So I contacted lots of hauliers, couriers and things like that. None of them would touch it because it was alcohol. So I'm thinking, how are we going to get it back? So our first batch, I took my car over with Richie and we just filled the car to the brim, having first paid for all our duty in advance, all the VAT in advance, through what they call a Reds agent. Now, that Reds agent was based in Dover, so we had to deal with completely unknown territory for us. We drove across to Germany. We got there, set off on the Friday night after work, because I was working at the hospital part-time just to add a little bit of funds. Richie was at work at the hospital. So set off, got down to Dover, the Channel Tunnel port, about 11:30 at night. Got on the next train that we could. Drove into Germany, and we were back home for Sunday night. With a car full of booze. And sort of come back, we had all the documentation, of course, but it was that concern as well, we're going to have to strip the car out. But it went through very easily, to be honest. I think they'd been pre-warned that we'd come across with a drink. And then we had the task of sticking all our duty labels on, because being a very small distiller, we have to stick our labels on ourselves. Whereas if we were a little bit bigger, we would have the labels printed onto the label, the bottle label. It would have been a lot easier. But we're only doing 2,500 bottles of each. So HMRC refused to give us the duty sticker scheme.
Oh, right. So it works on volume then?
It works on volume, yeah. And how regular you're going to be dealing with HMRC. Yeah. Because we're such small quantities, everything's done. And there's a lot of accountability, obviously, because we're dealing with duty, we're dealing with VAT. So it wasn't as straightforward as I hoped. Let's put it that way.
So this is where the fun starts then, Bryn. Yeah. So you've got all the product. You've got it here. You've got it in the UK. It's in the back of your car, and then obviously you put it in the spare bedroom, right? It's up to the ceiling. Yeah. Now what? Because we need to get rid of it. We need to sell it. Where does that take you? How do you start?
Well, what we did, we went around a few bars, a few shops. Some of the bars were saying, "Oh, look, we're tied into a certain wholesaler, otherwise we'd take you in." We got into a company called Master of Malt, who the big national company selling booze all over the world. They took on quite a quantity of gin for us, and they sold it online. And then I booked on some events. So we did some Christmas events. We started in the November. We did a Christmas event for a company called House 12, which is just at Forth Banks-Yard. And we couldn't sell there. We just had to sort of go there and display. But we later got what they call a TENS license, a TENS notice, so temporary events notice, where we could sell. People who were coming in to look at kitchens and KitchenAid stuff, they end up sort of buying quite a few. So it was all about 20 bottles on the day. Did an event down in Gisborough where we almost sold out within 2 hours. So I had to drive back to Sunderland to now for a unit rather than a bedroom. Yeah. So filled the car back up, went back down and sold almost everything. And then we came to December and we had none left from our first batch. So we had 50 in our first, 50 bottles of each, and we were sold out within a month of starting the trade. So, which was great, but then we missed all the Christmas fair.
It's a journey, isn't it? It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And in business, in a small business, you wear a number of hats, Bryn. So you're obviously looking after the finances, you're dealing with the operations side, bringing it over, talking to the suppliers. You're in sales and marketing now. You've got the product and you have to get it out there.
Yeah.
Is that something that you had to learn? Was that quite alien to you to then flip your mindset into you becoming a marketeer?
It was completely alien. I mean, I was a cop You know, that's all I've done for 30 years, being a cop, and then being a cop in a film as well. But that's another story. But I was never one to put myself out there. And, you know, I'm still a bit shy, but I've got to put myself out there now. And I'm trying to do as much as I can. We've got into the papers recently. I'm on your podcast, which is superb for us. We ended up getting our second lot in. We found a haulier that brought them in, so it's a lot easier now. So we've got a process where we put the order in. The guy in the lorry goes across, picks it up and drops it off at my little unit down the total. So I'm still learning all the way along, and I'm sure I'll be learning for the next couple of years.
Just thinking about anybody who potentially might be starting a business or a business in its infancy right now that may have started. What do you think about that journey? Do you think that if you knew you would never have started, or do you know, the kind of I always say you've got to love the game, Bryn. You've got to love the journey. The end point is actually not the goal. It's getting through it and enjoying the ride and rolling with the punches and that sort of thing. If you had to have that mindset,
I love the journey. You know, I'm learning lots of things. I'm meeting some fantastic people along the way, and the networking side of it. I mean, I just love turning up at events. I've got my little shoulder bag, my man bag, with my bottles of gin in, and I'll just put my 3 bottles of gin on a little side table with some sampling cups, and then, you know, I'll just walk away from it. And if people have got an interest, they'll go across and have a look, and they'll look about and they'll find me. And I just love talking about the stories. I mean, some of the stories of the distillery and mining as well, it's just awesome.
I know you're so passionate about it. Let's think about the distillery side of it. You see a lot of people now, you know, some of these drinks become quite popular, don't you? You see, you know, whiskies and rums and brandies and that. There's some can be quite cyclical in terms of trends and stuff like that. And then what I've noticed is people are starting to have a distillery here in the UK. Has that ever been a thought where you might think, actually, I want to start producing myself?
We did have a sort of thought process around that, but to be honest, I didn't need that, because I've got a guy there who's got a distillery which has been making fantastic drinks in the Ruhr Valley since the 1700s, and they're still popular now. I mean, the distillery's near a place called the Krangerkirmes. That's Krangerkirmes, and it's the second biggest fair in Germany outside the Oktoberfest. Mm-hmm. And just to give you a bit of scale on that, over 10 days, there's 4 million people turn up at this event. So he's got a shop just at the gateway to there, and people come every year, and he's just swamped with people, and people come quite often just for his drinks. I mean, there's other drinks available, of course, but you know, it's a bit of a cult following he has. So
I've been to Oktoberfest, actually.
I've done an Oktoberfest, but not in Munich.
I can't really recall.
Yeah. There's a lot of falling off tables, I recall. Not by me, but by other people.
They know how to do it, don't they? Those umpire bands.
Yeah.
So what you're saying there is that actually what you like about this gin is that it's got heritage, Bryn. So you could start, you know, your distillery tomorrow, right, in 2020 in the UK. But actually, the beauty about this is the story behind it. And I think you're really passionate about stories. You love to tell the story behind it. Your grandfather, you've just been talking about there, and the reasons behind it. Is that something from the marketing point of view in a business? Do you rely or lean into the stories?
That's exactly what it's about. It's about the story. It's not, you know, you can go into Asda and buy a bottle of cheap gin, 15 quid, but yeah, I've got a bottle of cheap gin. And does anybody know anything about it? Does anybody tell you in Asda, you know, oh, this is a bottle of gin? There's no story at all. It's made in an anonymous warehouse somewhere and mass produced. I mean, everything that we have is handmade in very small batches, which is why we're only getting 2,500 bottles of each. The labels are put on by hand. It's bottled by hand. We've even got a little stamp on the cork, which is put on by hand. You know, there's a little guy sits on a night time after he's finished bottling, and he'll, while he's watching telly, just stamp all of these things. And it's just that handcrafted, there's a bit of detail in everything. When I say he's watching telly, I'm, probably putting him down a bit, but the labels they're not always on exactly straight, but they're great.
That's the beauty now, looking at millennials, for instance, lots of surveys, I think there was one by HubSpot, and what they found out is that millennials aren't really interested that much in materialistic things. It's more so experience and journeys and enhancing lives. And I think tapping into that marketplace with a story is where the sales can come from. You talked about there about just popping into Asda, for instance, and getting a 15 quid bottle of wine. What is the quality like, Bryn? I know you're going to say it's amazing, but is there? Can you taste a difference in yours to a cheap bottle of gin?
Yeah, I mean, I've tasted quite a number of gins, and although our gin is being described to me by a lot of bloggers and gin enthusiasts as being more of a contemporary gin, because it hasn't got the sharpness of the juniper that quite a lot of the off-the-shelf gins have. But yeah, it's quite smooth. Our gin is very smooth. You can drink it as a sipper. And I would always say to people, look, try it neat first. And they all go, oh, I don't want to try it. But as soon as they try it neat, they can get the flavours that we've got in the gin. I mean, our Bergman's got goji berry, fissless fruit, and yerba mate, which is something quite odd for a gin in the UK. So I try to promote it as some of your superfoods. Goji berries deemed a superfood. You see lots of adverts on the internet for that. Yerba mate is a leaf which was used in South America as a bit of an energy booster. You infuse that with hot water. Fissless fruit is the thing that you get on your nice little tomato-looking fruit on your cheesecakes.
Oh yes,
yeah. So I mean, there's care and attention that's gone into it, because the guys at the distillery, there's only two guys at the distillery, the master distiller and the distiller, and they just love what they're doing. They don't want to mass produce things. And the guy that owns the distillery, my friend Peter, he's been approached by a number of supermarkets over in Germany for the product, because obviously people go to this mass fair and they go to the supermarket and say, oh, have you got any of his drinks in? I mean, we're talking about rums and caramel drinks and things like that. And he said, well, if I have to produce for you, I'd have to mechanize everything. Okay. So, he doesn't want that. He wants to keep it as a cult drink, as he calls it. And he certainly wouldn't want to be mechanizing mine. He did suggest that he would build me a distillery over here if we wanted it. And I said, but it wouldn't have the heritage.
Yes. Yeah.
And he agrees with that.
So what's your USP then, Bryn? There's lots of gins out there. Is it you, the team, and the story?
I think it's the story behind everything, as well as the quality of the product and the limited edition, if you like. I wouldn't say limited edition, the limited quantities that are going to be made. And it's something different, and we can tell that story when we go visit people. We do exhibitions. We've been to the Cuban Cigar Club. We did an event for Lufthansa in the Newcastle airport. We've done for a big load of solicitors as well. And we'll do that all the time. So we're a bit of an act, if you like. We can turn up with we've got an original replica coal tub from the mines, and we stand there and we can tell the stories. I mean, I haven't got enough time on here to tell us any of the stories, and it's great entertainment for people, and they love the drink. Everybody that's tasted it will come back.
Fantastic stuff. So what's next then, Bryn? What does success look like then?
Success for me would... I'm not a big one for massive dreams or anything. All I want to do is go out and tell me story. Mm-hmm. And if people want to buy me drink, they'll buy me drink, and we'll sell 2,500 bottles of these within a year. we do want to bring some of the other drinks in. Like we've got access to a lot of his rums. We've got exclusive access to any drink that he makes. We can bring across, and we'll be the only person in the UK with them. And they're all smooth. And everybody that's tasted our samples of drinks, and you know yourself that everything was being very smooth and very tasty.
I do know myself. Are you alluding to the fact that I've drank your gin?
Well, not just the gin, but the caramel and the.
Okay, I've drank everything. I get it, right? Yeah. So, success then, Bryn. What does it look like? What do you want to achieve? Where we're going with it?
What I want to achieve is get our 2,500 bottles sold in a year, bring in some new products, and then we can then invest the money in bigger stories and better stories, and we want to entertain people.
Yeah,
that's all it is just making people happy. That's the goal.
So a goal for a lot of us is to help the small businesses, especially in our crew. We've got a great network. I nearly talked about Jenny Smith there. In our little network, we've got a lot of people going on to share our social stuff, to back us, to promote us, to share our journeys. Do you rely a lot upon that? Is that something that is big for you, your network?
We love networking. We love people to tell the story, and for me to go out networking is sharing the drinks with them as well, and letting them just taste it. I'm not forcing them to buy. I just want them to taste, tell everybody how nice the drinks are, and people will start coming more regularly, and that will grow and grow as time goes on. But I mean, the social media side of it, I'm contacted by quite a few of the smaller gin distillers who I'm in regular contact with. Scott Wilson Lang, who's still waiting to get his distillery going. Pitwheel Distillery, I've been talking with as well. Quite a lot of the podcasters, that's you, the gin bloggers. And it's building up relationships up and down the country. One of the stories that was in the press recently was about the bottle of Renton. I don't know if you read it.
Yes,
but we got a contact from a guy in Galway in Southern Ireland, and he said, "Oh, look, I want a bottle of Renton for my dad. His name is our family name is Renton." So I said, "Well, look, we're only delivering to the UK at the moment." And anyway, I sent him an email saying, "Look, this is the drink's named after Captain James Ogilvy Renton, which was my great grandfather." And he says, "Get away." He says, my dad's called James Ogilvy Renton. Turns out he was a third cousin. So, small world.
Yeah. Wow.
It's getting out. So they love it. I mean, they're talking about it all over Galway at the moment.
Right.
So it's nice. It fills me with joy that people are talking about us.
Yeah.
Be better if everybody starts buying, of course. Yeah.
Well, let's go for the right hook, Bryn. How can we help you?
Right. The website's houseofruhr.co.uk. If you use the word RUDOG, that's ROODOG, I'll give you 10% off our drink prices. The retail at £40 each. So you'll get 10% off and we'll get them delivered to you. If you're local, I'll hand deliver them with some Merchant's Heart tonic water as well.
Ah, there you go. You can't say fairer than that, can you?
Yeah, you can't. So I'll give you 4 bottles of Merchant's Heart tonic water, and you'll get a bottle of lovely gin, hand-signed by the distiller and numbered. Currently, the numbers that we've got in range from 51 to 150 out of 2,500.
Do people keep the bottles, Bryn?
People have been keeping the bottles, and some of them have been used as, I'm trying to think what they call them now. They put the
little fairy lights in.
The fairy lights in, they put the sticks in, the aromatherapy things.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Diffusers, that's the word. So they've been using, I've seen 2 or 3 of the Bergmans being used as diffusers.
Right. Awesome stuff.
So not only do you get a lovely bottle of gin, but you get a fantastic diffuser free.
Nicely done. I love it. Right, my friend, your time is up.
All right, thank you very much. Are we going to do the cartway up the mountain then?
We are. Next time we see each other for cartway, we're going to be on the water in canoes.
Yeah, not in the water.
In the water with a wetsuit. I hope there's no photographers around.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay,
right.
Jane, my word.
All right, take care.
Okay. See you, Bryn.
Bye.
Right. So there you go. All about gin.